Let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings in 2022, their fantasy outlook. Aaron, we'll start with you here. Dalvin Cook. The more I did research on how I wanted to present this show tonight about the Minnesota Vikings fantasy outlook, I started seeing a lot more about Dalvin Cook and people being concerned about this Minnesota Vikings offense moving towards a pass first style of offense and that hurting Dalvin Cook's value. Last season, we saw him regress from the prior season. He was RB2 in 2020. He finishes the RB16 in 2021, with the Minnesota Vikings passing even more last year and potentially passing even more this year. So let's figure this one out here. Does the Minnesota Vikings offense being more pass first hurt or help Dalvin Cook?
It's a loaded question. I don't think it does anything.
Bang, bang.
I don't think it does anything. I don't think Dalvin Cook's value is impacted whether they decide to throw the ball a little bit more, run the ball a little bit more. Dalvin Cook is a top fantasy guy because he's a guy who can carry a workload and can work in and out of the backfield. He's going to catch passes. What are you going to throw to Alexander Madison over Dalvin Cook? No, he's going to be on the field 3 downs, and they're going to make sure they get the ball in his hands because he's one of the most dangerous weapons in the NFL. So he is going to touch the ball, whether that's in the air, whether that's on the ground, whether that's with a revert. I really don't give a hoot. Like, at the end of the day, he's going to be upwards of around 300 touches, and he's going to produce. Last year, the reason his numbers dropped off didn't have anything to do with passing the ball more or running the ball more, because he had the same amount of carries he did 2 years ago when he was the number 6 running back. It was about his touchdowns regressed. They didn't score as much on the ground, which hurt him big time, because the years prior he had 16 and 13 touchdowns. Last year he only had 6. So you want to talk about regression. It's the regression of the scoring that really made him drop off significantly. And not to mention, he missed 3 games last year, or 4 games last year. The prior years, he had only missed 2 each of those past 2 seasons. So I don't worry about Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is a good running back. He's young still. He's 26. He'll be an RB1. And if in a bad year, what would be considered a bad year because you drafted him as a first-round pick, Dalvin Cook was the RB16, missing 4 games, scoring 6 touchdowns. So it's hard to be like, oh, no, I'm worried about Dalvin Cook. I don't care who the offensive coordinator is. That's their horse. They're going to give him the ball.
Yeah. And you might have some really good value with, like, obviously we're talking about first-round picks, and it's a little much to say you're getting value out of a first-round pick because you're paying a lot. But he's going at the back end of the first round right now. He's going in around the 8th to 10th pick in fantasy leagues right now. I mean, that could be a steal for a guy like Dalvin Cook, who we're kind of used to seeing be a top 5 player being drafted in fantasy leagues.
Like, Derrick Henry is going as RB 3 or 4, often injury as well, way more work, like a huge volume workload. In an offense that's, let's be honest, it's not very good. They are run heavy, though. And I don't see how that value is equivalent to a Dalvin Cook, who gets work out of the passing game, which Derrick Henry does not. So, like, the same concerns you would give me about Dalvin Cook, the injury, the I don't know, maybe lack of usage or over usage in previous years, I would have those same concerns about a Derrick Henry who doesn't get any work out of the backfield. So I don't know that I'm concerned so much with where Dalvin Cook's offense is headed, more so than just him being on the field itself.
You're scared. You scaring me, to be honest. Why? I'm going to just say it right here.
Why?
It's not really like scaring me. Like, you have had so much, and I've been on board with this. I really am on board with this. I'm feeling it as well. The slander towards Derrick Henry of having the off year, and it is all valid points. You have not presented anything that's not valid when bringing down Derrick Henry. But laugh at me all you want. I watched the Derrick Henry workout videos that they post on social media. I'm like, dude, this dude's going to be a freaking beast again. Like, And that's just what I see. And I'm like, dude, like, because you were talking about the injury and like he's a big dude and all the pressure he's going to have on his ankle and all that. And it's just, Derrick Henry is a freak, man.
Do you remember when Le'Veon Bell came back in the league and he had those workout videos and everybody was like, oh shit, LVB is back. Look at him. He looks in great shape. Look at him running up those hills. Bruh. It's different when you got 11 guys trying to come tackle you. And this is not about Derrick Henry. I mean, he is, and I'm not saying he's not going to be good, but we're talking RB3 versus RB8 at Dalvin Cook. And I'm like, okay, give me the younger guy who's more versatile, who can catch out of the backfield in a better offense as the workhorse versus a guy that's all the attention, a huge volume over the past 2 years, coming off injury as well on a not so good offense and no passing down work. I'm probably leaning Dalvin Cook every time. Does that mean Derrick Henry's not going to be an RB1? No. But is it going to be RB number 3? I don't think so. I'm sorry. Last year, the year before that, those were unreal years. It's hard to duplicate that. We've seen this, Saquon Barkley. We've seen it, Ezekiel Elliott, for 2 years. We've seen years like this before where you have a couple of oh my God years and then you fall back to earth. And Derrick Henry rushes for 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. Great year. Nobody's knocking that. But are you getting RB3 or total RB number 3 out of that? Probably not if you're not getting any passing down work.
Derrick Henry about to rush for 1,700 yards and 16 touchdowns this season. And
Tennessee will be lucky to score 16 touchdowns this year.
As a team. The disrespect is real.
Let's make sure you put this in all the Titans pages.
We're definitely going to talk more about Derrick Henry when we get to our Titans and our AFC South fantasy outlook. But AJ, one last question on the Vikings before we go to the Bears. Adam Thielen, last year, I know Justin Jefferson's the hot name, and it's obvious where Justin Jefferson is getting drafted. He should be. He is that damn good. But Adam Thielen has been there, and he has been just I don't know, it's almost say the backbone of this Minnesota Vikings team, the heart and soul of this Minnesota Vikings team. He's been very consistent in fantasy football, maybe not producing the best of numbers like the wide receiver 1 numbers, but he's always consistently around that wide receiver 2 range. Right now he's being drafted as the wide receiver 30. Do you think he outperforms that ADP value of wide receiver 30 this season?
I do. Not by a bunch, but I definitely think he can be ahead of wide receiver 30. This is a guy who played very, very well in that offense and has been very reliable in that offense. Even coming off a season-ending ankle surgery last year, he posted back-to-back seasons with double-digit touchdowns. That was with the defensive-minded coach. Now you got Kevin O'Connell coming in from the Rams and from Sean McVay, and a guy who likes to lean on some veterans to make sure this offense moves, at least in the beginning of the season. I think he's going to lean a little bit on Adam Thielen to make sure that Justin Jefferson can still operate on the other side, because you can't just forget about him. You can mention he's a little bit another year older and whatnot, but one of the best things that Adam Thielen does is operate around the red zone. And being a year older doesn't mean you have to be just as quick off the line in the red zone, but you can still be as physical as he used to be to get that separation that you've seen him get in the red zone. So even if he's not the guy who's getting 8, 9, 10 catches a game, if he's getting 2 touchdowns because he's just making red zone catches and things of that nature, I feel pretty comfortable having an Adam Thielen as a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3. That sounds like something that I can get behind. So I think this season he will surpass wide receiver 30, and you'll be happy with where you get him if you're drafting him around that area.
So you'd be okay if Adam Thielen was your wide receiver 2?
Well, wide receiver 3. I would be, though. If he's a low-end wide receiver 2, I'm okay with that too. But that also means at that point in time, 1, I've probably got pretty decent running backs.
Yeah,
and 2, wide receiver is so deep. It's just so deep. The amount of guys that I can stack up on if I'm stuck at Adam Thielen as my wide receiver 2. I'm probably going to take a small run on wide receivers and some dart throws and guys that I believe in has a shot at a good season.
Yeah, I don't think there's a shot in hell Adam Thielen's a wide receiver 2. I don't think he's going to get enough yardage and volume to do that. You mentioned the touchdowns. That's where his value is going to be. It's going to continue to be there. I think he'll see very similar numbers to what we've seen before. It'll be 900 yards, double-digit touchdowns, something along the lines of, I don't know how many catches he's had over the past couple of seasons, but 60, 70 catches. I think that's where you're going to get Adam Thielen. I'm looking at Adam Thielen more like a wide receiver 3, throw into your flex option. The wide receiver position is just too deep. I need more upside from my wide receiver 2. I want my wide receiver 2 to have the ability to crack that wide receiver 1 on a good year, not my wide receiver 2 cracking the wide receiver 2. Because that's what we're hoping Adam Thielen gets is into the top 24. We're not expecting Adam Thielen to get into the top 15. And I think as a wide receiver 2, I'm looking for a guy that has the potential to do that. And I don't know that Adam Thielen does this point in his career, but don't get me wrong. Adam Thielen's a solid fantasy option. Very, very solid fantasy value. And if you're getting him, I would imagine he's probably going 8th round, 7th, 8th round.
He is going 72. So that's what, 12, 24. That's about like God. Math.
That's the end of the 6th round. So that might be a little bit high for me. But the 7th, 8th round, I'm okay. I'm okay taking him there because that means you probably got, if you did normal draft strategy, you probably got 2 backs. You probably got 2 wide receivers. You got either a quarterback or a tight end. And now you're going for these deeper positions. So I'm okay with that there.
I think too with Adam Thielen is like he allows you to be a little bit more risky with some of your other picks because Adam Thielen isn't gonna, unless he gets hurt, he's not gonna ever really screw you over. He's never. I don't think you'll look at Adam Thielen and he'll goose you. I don't think you'll get one of those type of games or those type of games from Adam Thielen. But you're just not, like you said, Aaron, you're just not going to get that high end type of ceiling from an Adam Thielen, but you will get that consistency. And I think that wide receiver 30 spot, maybe I boost him up a little bit higher, high end wide receiver 3. Maybe you're looking at wide receiver 27, 26 type of stuff from him, but he's not going to let you down as often as some of these other guys. So you can, when it comes to draft strategy, which is huge, you can draft Adam Thielen as your consistent guy and then take your shots on your riskier. Maybe you go for a Packers wide receiver or a Chiefs wide receiver and you want to take your shot, but you have your safety net in Adam Thielen.
Let me ask you, you love name games. Let me ask you how you would draft. I'm just thinking about guys that could be behind Adam Thielen that we've talked about.
Are you taking Adam Thielen?
No, I think I got him. Are you taking Adam Thielen or Allen Robinson?
Allen Robinson.
Taking Adam Thielen or DeAndre Hopkins?
Oh. Probably DeAndre Hopkins. He's going much later. I'd rather that value than Thielen.
Are you taking Adam Thielen or guys like even upside guys like Rashad Bateman, Devontae Smith, Gabriel Davis?
Would it be a cop out to just say it depends on how the rest of my draft looks?
No, because I think that's your point. I think that's the point is if you've taken 2 good receivers already, you're not going to take Adam Thielen there. You're going to go after the guy, that Gabriel Davis, who might end up being a top 15 receiver, or a Devontae Smith who might break into the top 20. But you're going to take more risk there if you don't get a receiver early. Say you had the draft strategy of you went running back heavy, then you took a tight end, then you took a quarterback, and then you took a receiver, and now you've come back around and there was a heavy run on receivers, and Adam Thielen's sitting there, or some of these guys that have huge upside, but you're like, I got a lot of risky plays. I need a solid here. Then you're going Adam Thielen. But I imagine that many of us that play fantasy football are going to be passing on an Adam Thielen because we're going after the guys that we feel are going to have breakout years or these bigger years because we know what Adam Thielen's going to give us. That's just what fantasy players do.